Hi, everyone. This is Denise from Creates with Love, and I hope your day is going awesome. Today, I want to cover how to upload a PDF file into Design Space so you can use for cutting patterns such as doll clothes or maybe even purses or bags or wallets. I have a lot to cover today. I will try to separate the categories for this YouTube video. That way, in the future, you can jump to specifically what you might need. All right, so with that, let's get started diving in. Now, the first thing you want to do in order to upload a pattern is to know how to take a screenshot. So let me go ahead and cover that as our very first step. Now, I'm on a Windows computer today, but I can also give you the shortcut for if you're on a Mac computer and if you're unsure how to create a screenshot. Now, this video tutorial will be specifically from a desktop computer. Please leave me a comment if you would like to know how to do this exact same process that I'll be covering today, but from, say, a tablet like an iPad. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have a very simple PDF skirt pattern. This is for a doll. And so this is for a pattern that I've had, as you can see, for a long time. 2008 was when it was released. This is your 1 inch square reference. This is what's going to make it so super easy to get it into Design Space and have it be perfectly sized. It doesn't matter what size your pattern starts from here. I'm going to actually make it smaller because we want to be able to get a screenshot of each pattern piece. So for this specific pattern, which is a wrap skirt, there is only two pieces to this pattern, okay? It doesn't, the process is the same. It doesn't matter if there's one pattern piece or 30. You would do the exact same process, although I can say it will take you a little bit longer if you have 30 pattern pieces. Anyway, it is completely doable and super easy, so please stick with me. All right, so here we go. We've got our first pattern piece, and like I said, we're just going to take a screenshot. And with the Windows computer, I like to use the snippet tool, which is down here in my bottom taskbar. If you're on a Windows computer and you would like to have it in your taskbar or don't know where it is, just go to your type here to search area in the bottom left-hand part of your computer and simply type in snip and it's going to come up. Now you can either click here and just use it, or if you want to add it to your lower taskbar, you want to right click here and choose, instead of where it says unpin from taskbar, it would say pin to taskbar. Mine says that because it's already pinned to the taskbar. But in any case, that is how you find your snipping tool, okay? So I'm just going to click out of that since I already have it. Now here is my snipping tool, and then again, I will put on the screen, if you're on a Apple or a Mac computer, then to get a screenshot, you want to simply do Command plus Shift plus the 4 key. So Command Shift 4, and that is how you would get your screenshot. All right, so here we go. I'm going to grab my snippet tool. I'm going to click New. I'm going to take my mouse. I want to make sure I get the square and just this one pattern piece into the same screenshot. So I'm going to go straight up from here to make sure I get clear to that edge and tall enough to where I can get that 1 inch square. Now that actually, see, I was a little bit off there. So I'm going to just close that one. I don't want to save it. I'm going to do another one, right? I want to make sure that I actually get the whole pattern piece. So I'm going to go out a little bit further. There we go. That's better. And there I've got my pattern piece. I'm going to release my mouse, and then I'm going to come up to File, and I'm going to put Save As, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it as a PNG file. That is fine because all I'm going to do is take it from my desktop and plop it into Design Space. So I'm just going to call it Skirt. Let's see, I'll do Skirt A. And it's already saved to my desktop, so I'll click Save. And there we have our first pattern piece. Now I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to the second piece. Well, that's my screenshot. Close my screenshot, go down to the second pattern piece, open up my snippet tool, click on New, make my mouse go around both the 1 inch square and their pattern piece, let go of my mouse, go up to File, Save As, I'm going to name it Skirt B, and it's going to save to my desktop and click Save. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to close it, and I don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to minimize it here. Okay, so here we have on my desktop Skirt A and Skirt B. So in order to get these pattern pieces into Design Space, you simply want to click on New Project. You want to click on Upload. You want to click on Upload Image, and you want to take Skirt A and drag it here. When this turns green, let go of your mouse, choose Complex, choose Continue. We want to remove the white background. So we want to keep the 1-inch square with the white in it, and we want to keep all of this pattern piece, but we want to get rid of this outside part. To do that, you hit the wand and you select the background. Make sure it looks good. Go ahead and hit preview. Sometimes patterns that maybe weren't prepared very good might not be very clean, and they might have some like white or black specks in here. If yours has, like this is very clean, this is perfect. But if yours had some black specks here, you would click on the eraser and you would just go over those black specks. Okay, we don't need to do that because there wasn't any black specks, but that's what you would do to clean up your pattern. Okay, so we'll go back to here. This all looks perfect. We'll hit continue. We want to do it as a cut image. We don't want it to print. I mean, you could do it this way. There is a way to do it, but trust me, this is the easier way to do it. But if you have marking to do and you need to know exactly where to mark your patterns, then you could do this way. And then once it's into Design Space, you can get rid of your fill pattern, and that way you would have just a cut file after you mark your pattern. If you need more specific instructions on how to do that, then please let me know in the comments and I'll make a separate video on how to do a print then cut pattern piece, okay? But for this one, we're going to concentrate on the easiest and quickest way to get that pattern into Design Space. So I'm going to click on Save as a Cut Image, and then you can mark it and tag it if you like. I'm just going to leave mine as Skirt A. You could tag it as doll. In fact, maybe I'll just do that. I'll do doll. That way I know it's stuck in there for my doll clothes. And then click on Save. Okay, and then now we're going to go back and upload Skirt B. So we'll click on Upload Image again, and we'll grab the Skirt B and just drag it here, let go, choose Complex, Continue. We're going to remove this background again, so select the one, click in the background. It looks good. We'll hit preview just in case. It still looks good. So we'll click continue, save as a cut image, tag it with doll, and save. All right, so now we want to click the two pattern pieces that we just uploaded. So that would be Skirt A is here and Skirt B, and click Insert Image. You can see that they're right here ready to come up into Design Space. It's going to put both of our patterns here separately. Let me just click out of it. There we go. So we've got two pieces that are separate. Now, you have a choice at this point. This is only two pattern pieces. The quickest and easiest way to get these to line up just right would be just to go ahead and attach them together. So rubber band your mouse around both and then click attach. That way, you know that both sizes are equally the same size, and we can now move this arrow in and out, and it's going to move both pieces equally in and keep them proportionate to the size that they're supposed to be. So basically, all we have to do is get this 1-inch box into and have it be exactly or as close as we can get, right? Pattern pieces don't have to be exactly. You can have it be off, 0.22 of an inch. It's not going to matter, not for these type of patterns. So go ahead and give yourself some grace with that. Get as close as you can. If you need to see the square a little bit bigger, you can always make your desktop zoom it up larger. It's not going to make your pattern actually bigger. It's just making our desktop bigger so we can see that square better. Okay, so that's actually a little too big. I want to be able to hit this little arrow down here. So I can see it's maybe just slightly over. I'm going to inch it in just a little bit like that. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get it close to, and that actually looks pretty good to me. That looks really good. So these are perfectly sized to this inch. And then just keep in mind too, it's no different. If your pattern piece doesn't have a 1 inch square and it just has a 1 inch line, then you would just be lining up that 1 inch line to this 1 inch line. If your pattern piece says, it's 2 inches by 2 inches, then just know that this here is 2 inches, by 2 inches, and you would just size it to that square. So it just depends on how your pattern piece come. They're all different. I think most of them are 1 inch, but definitely not all of them. So just, keep in mind it's the same process. Just line up whatever it's asking you to do along with whatever is actually in Design Space. So now that these are sized perfectly, what I'm going to do is duplicate them, right? They're still attached. They're both perfectly sized. I'm going to hit on duplicate. And the reason I do this, as soon as I duplicate one, I'm just going to turn one of the layers off. I'm just keeping it for safekeeping in case somehow I accidentally get these two pattern pieces the wrong, maybe after I've sized them perfectly, I accidentally hit this arrow or I unlock the size feature and I kind of mess up their size. So this is just, you don't have to do this. This is just to keep in Design Space. If you always keep your PDF file, which I highly suggest that you do if it's something that you need to reference for either the picture of the pattern or maybe the instructions of the pattern, then you're always going to have that pattern piece to re-upload into Design Space. But I like to do it this way. Then it's just kind of like a little insurance for me to have this piece sized perfectly in case I mess up mine. Anyway, all right, so now that we've got our pattern pieces duplicated and one layer turned off, I'm just going to detach this group. I want to work with them separately now so I can remove their 1 inch squares because we have them sized perfectly. All right, so I've got skirt A. I'm going to turn off skirt B for now. I'm just going to work with one piece at a time for this part. Now, the easiest way for me, you could slice this square out, right? Because we don't need the square anymore. We certainly don't want to cut it out with our pattern piece, so we just need to get rid of it. You could get a shape like a square and slice this out, but honestly, I think it's way quicker to just use the contour feature. You want to select your image, and you'll see that contour comes up. Go ahead and click on contour and you want to select the piece that you don't want to see. If you don't want to see the square anymore, you select the square. Simply close it. Now we have just the pattern skirt A piece ready to go. Now, to make it more user-friendly, let's say I'm going to be working with a cute little pale yellow fabric, so I'm going to choose that cute little pink pale or yellow color. Now, I'm going to go ahead, since this one is ready to go, I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to bring back my skirt B. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm simply going to select it, choose contour. I don't want the square, so I'm going to select it, means I don't want to see it, and then click the X. Here we go. I'm going to change the color. Say, I want to show you how it goes onto two different mats. So that's why I'm selecting two different colors, just as an example. All right, so we've got our pattern pieces ready to go. We've got skirt A and skirt B, and they're sized perfectly to go. Now, I could just take this and hit make it, and it would cut it out. But this piece was to be cut on fold, the skirt B. So I'm going to show you how to mirror a piece, right? There's different ways with sewing patterns. As you know, if you're a sewer, say it's a pant leg and you might want to mirror that pant leg, right? You don't want two right legs. You want a right leg and a left leg. So let's just pretend I'm going to actually turn this one off. Let's pretend this is the pant leg and this is, say, the left leg. So in order to get another pant leg, right, we would need to duplicate it and then we would want to flip it over. So we would want to flip this one horizontal. So now we have a right leg and a left leg. There'd be some funny pants, but anyway, you get the drift. that is mirroring a pattern piece in Design Space, okay? I don't need this anymore, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that. Okay, now for the other example, how do we place fabric on fold, right? You can't technically fold fabric over on a mat. I mean, technically, you probably could use a temporary spray adhesive, fold your fabric in half on the Cricut mat, and then cut it that way. But I'm not happy with that. I don't want to gum up my Cricut blades with adhesive, things like that. So I would just rather, if you can, just go ahead and pretty much kind of like mirror the pattern piece and then put it together. So this one, we're going to shut off. This skirt B was the one that was placed on fold. Okay. So in order to place this on fold, let me make this a little bit smaller so we'll have more room. Alrighty. So in order to place it on the fold, basically you're just going to already put the pattern piece as if it was placed on a fold and opened up. So to do that, you want to simply duplicate the pattern piece. And because of the way this is shaped, I'm going to go up and instead of horizontal, I'm going to do flip vertical. So basically that just brings it here. I just need to circle this around. Let me bring this up a little bit more. I just need to circle this around and butt the two pieces up together. You want to get them as close as you can with a slight overlap. I'm going to show you what happens if you don't have it overlapped or maybe partially overlapped, like say this one here. Okay, let's say I put it together like this. You could see that little gap. Now we don't want our Cricut to cut in there and then cut into here, cut out and like that, right? We want it to be all one piece, but I want to show you what it looks like when you don't weld it correctly. So you would just rubber band your mouse around both pieces and click weld. Okay, see the line? We don't want that line there. So this is welding incorrectly. I'm going to hit back button. Now I'll show you correctly so that we don't have that little line there. You just want to basically overlap it just a tiny bit, not enough to alter, the shape of the pattern. But just get it up there as close as you can. Now that looks good, but let's test it. Let's go ahead and rubber band the mouse around, click weld, and look, I needed to get it just a little bit closer. So let's back out, move the pattern piece in just a little bit. Okay, let's give this one a shot. Grab them both and hit weld. Perfect. This is a perfectly welded pattern piece. There is no lines and it looks very smooth on the top and bottom. So there, you just mirrored your first pattern piece. Now, this piece is ready to go and this piece is ready to go. We've got pattern A, skirt A, we did the fold correctly. These are the two pieces that we would need. Now, some people like to mark their patterns. You certainly don't have to. You can cut it just like this. If you're comfortable with knowing what the pattern pieces are, that's fine. I have cut many, many patterns without ever marking up my patterns in Design Space. Because remember, you also have that PDF pattern that you can go by and pretty much, eyeball and know what pattern pieces you're working with. But some people do like to match. Maybe they're cutting their pattern ahead of time, or they're going to cut it for somebody and give it to somebody, and that person might need to know that this is pattern A, B, 1, 2, whatever. All right, so let me just show you how. I'm just going to say this was skirt A right here. So let's go ahead and add A to it. So I'm going to hit text. I'm going to select an A. I'm going to go up to my font and I'm going to change it to a writing style. So in order to find the writing type of font, I'm going to go over and I'm going to select Cricut because I want to use one of my Cricut fonts. You can use system fonts if you don't have any access to the Cricut Access and need a font. You can go to your system fonts and use one of your own fonts that are on your own system. But I'm going to use a Cricut font today and I'm going to filter here by writing. All of these are writing fonts. Some of them are going to write a little bit better than the others for a pattern type of one. I like to use Alien for whatever reason, but you can choose whatever font you like. You can make this font whatever size you want. I'm going to make it small, and I'm just going to put it right in the middle. You can put it wherever you want. And let me show you two at the same time. It's no different than, say, if you wanted to add a dotted line right here. Okay, in fact, let's just do that. We'll add a score line, and I'm going to bring it down this way. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to get it to right about where I think it should be. I'm going to stretch it out about like that. Okay, so there we go. Let's say we wanted to add this line there. In order to do either one of these, you need to let you need to let Cricut Design Space know that you want to, what you want to write with, what type of pen. So you want to go up and go to Cut, and you want to change it to Draw. Once you change it to Draw, you want to change to what pen? That would be this little square with the hole in it. Select that. I happen to know that the Cricut Fabric Washable Pen is a marker, not a fine point. So I'm going to select in this rectangle and choose marker. And then here it is right here, blue washable fabric pen. All right, so there we have that mark. Now let's do the same with our score line. Instead of score, we're going to change it to draw. And then we're going to change the pen again. So click in that square, change it to marker, and change it to blue fabric washable. Now that we have our line and our square, in fact, I'm just going to move this just slightly so it marks up with that a little bit more even. There we go. Now we just need to attach the writing. So we want to attach the A and the line to the actual fabric piece so Cricut knows to actually draw on our fabric. So we're going to attach everything right here. Just want to make sure you attach the pattern piece, the line, and the letter A, and then click attach. Now Cricut will know that it needs to draw, and you can see that in your layers panel. It's going to draw the line, draw the A, and it's going to cut out the pattern piece. All right, so let's take this one, and let's say you want to put a B on it. So I'm just going to type B. I'm going to use the same font. Lucky for me, it stays the same. So all I have to do is size it smaller, move it over to here, and I'm going to change the pen. So I'm going to choose, or actually change it to draw. You want to change your line type to draw, and then change your pen, change it to marker, change it to blue fabric washer. Now we want to attach the letter B to the fabric. So we want to, oopsie, you want to make your mouse go around the fabric and the letter B and click attach. So if you look in your layers panel, it's going to draw the B and it's going to cut out the pattern piece. All right, so this pattern is ready to go. All you have to do at this point is click make it, and I'm not going to actually cut the pieces out. I just want to show you the next steps in case you're very new to Cricut. I want to get you on your merry way. So I'm going to click on make it. It's going to separate it into the different colored mats for me. It just reminds you that this project needs a fabric marking pen. That is fine. Both pieces will fit on your 11.5 or your 12-inch mat. And then you want to click on continue. It's going to hook up to your maker. And then this is where you select your fabric. So I happen to have cotton here saved as a favorite because that's most of the fabric that I do cut. But you could, if you don't have it here or you want to choose a different fabric, you want to go to Browse All Materials and then choose the category of fabric. And then you can see you have a ton of different fabrics you can choose with, okay? So just as an example, let's just go down and we'll just pick, how about let's just pick light cotton and then click done. And then here you go. I would just keep it at regular default pressure, especially if you're rotary blade. If you're new to cutting fabric, your regular pressure as default would be fine. And then also go ahead and it tells you to load your blue marker pen in clamp A, and in clamp B, you can use your rotary blade. All right, so there we go. It's ready to go. And this is how you would lay your fabric, or you would next lay your fabric onto each mat, and then you would send them through. You would load your mat and choose cut, and it will cut out your fabric for you. All right, so there is that. Now, I do want to cover too. I'm going to click cancel because we're not actually going to cut this. I want to get back to show you something. Click cancel. Okay, so we're back to here, and I'm actually going to, let me think about this for a second. What I want to do is show you how to size a pattern piece down a 1/4 inch, right? Let's say this is a piece. Actually, I'm just going to shut this one off so it's not in our way. We're going to focus on this one here. And I'm going to detach. I'm just going to take our letters off. I don't want them. I showed you how to do it, so we don't really need them. So I'm just going to rubber band around them and delete them. Okay, so I'm going to take this pattern piece. It gives us the sizes right here, 8.378 and 5.938. So if I wanted to make this a 1/4 inch smaller all the way around, then I'm essentially really going to be making the pattern smaller on both sides by 0.5 of an inch. So in order to do that, I don't do math. I use calculators. So if you're like me, just bring up your handy dandy calculator and we will get through this process with no problem and it'll be super easy. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm on a Windows computer, right? So I'm going to bring up my calculator by going down to the search bar like we did earlier. And I'm just going to type in calculator and it's going to bring up my calculator app. I'm going to make it smaller so it's not so much in our way. All right, so, oh, and if you're on a Windows, or I'm sorry, if you're on a Mac computer, in order to get to your calculator, I think the quickest way to get there is hit your command and then hit your space bar, and then you can type in calculator and your calculator will pop up for you. All right, so in order to get this down, the first thing we want to do is unlock it, right? Because we're going to be changing the proportion to this size and this size. Now, the first thing I would do is make sure that you duplicate this and then turn off the one layer, okay? Just in case, right? Because usually if you're cutting out interfacing, you're going to need another pattern piece. So that's why I duplicated it. So again, we're pretending this is like a piece to a purse that you might want to add interfacing, but you don't want the interfacing to go, you don't want to sew through the interfacing because you're going to be using a 1/4 inch seam. So there's our idea of where I'm going with this. Okay, so we click on it. We're going to unlock our proportions and we're going to take the 5.938 and put it into our calculator, okay? 5.938 minus 0.5. So we want 5.438. So we're going to go up to the top here, backspace, 5 point, and I already forgot it, 5.438, 5.438, and then hit enter. And then we want to clear this on the calculator and put in 8.378 minus 0.5 equals 7.878. So we're going to type in 7.878 and hit enter. All right, so now I'm going to lock it. We have our proportions correct, and we're just going to, I'm going to drag this back over a little bit so I can bring in the piece that I turned off, and I'm going to change this color so you can see. Let's change it to an orange, and then we'll unlock this one. So as you can see, this pattern piece is proportionately a 1/4 inch smaller than the pattern piece that we had there. So this could be your interfacing. And then again, it's no different than your other pattern piece. If you want to mark it as interfacing or put an eye on it, however you want to do it, then you can. But that is how you can get an oddball shape into exactly a 1/4 inch smaller. And you could, right, you could do it a 1/2 inch smaller or 3/8 inch smaller, or 5/8 is a very common sewing dimension. But I do a lot of my stuff on a 1/4 inch. But there you go. That is how you do that. And I think this pretty much covers it. The only thing left I could maybe suggest would be, not everybody has their pattern pieces electronically, right? Not everybody has their pattern pieces already, just sitting in their computer hard drive or documents or wherever you store your PDF files. Let's say you have a physical PDF pattern and you want to get that pattern into your computer so you can upload it into Design Space. The easiest way to do that would be to scan it. If you don't have a scanner, a lot of printers come with scanners on them, and you can even also use an app on your phone. I think like on the iPhone, as an example, the Notes app actually has a camera feature, which you can also choose to be a scan feature. So, and a lot of people have scanners that are hooked up. Like I have one for my business because I have to scan a lot of documents into my computer for my taxes. So you might have that type of scanner. There's multiple ways. If you're someone who doesn't have a scanner printer or a iPhone that you can scan your PDF file, or any of the other things that I mentioned, you can also take that pattern and take it to your local, say, FedEx or Kinko's, or any type of those type of services or businesses that you may have in your local area, and they can scan the pattern for you, or you can use their printers and scan that pattern and then email it to yourself. Then when you get home, you can open up your email, save it as a file, and then upload it into Design Space. So I hope that helps. One more thing, if you are scanning a pattern outside, like a physical pattern, and let's say that pattern does not have 1 inch square. And if you have a physical pattern like that, you could cut, and that's the whole key, right? Whatever measurement you want. So say that pattern piece, you want to make a 1 inch reference. You would want to cut that 1 inch by 1 inch square as perfect as you can, and then lay it on top of your pattern piece and then scan it. Okay, but most patterns do come with some sort of a reference. Like I said earlier, it might not be a 1 inch square, it might be a 1 inch line or a 2 inch line, or what have you. Alrighty, I think I covered everything. If I left something out and you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. And then also, if you're someone, I use my desktop computer a lot with Design Space, but I also use it on my iPad. So if you're the type of person that does not own a desktop computer and you're only going to be uploading files using your iPad, then leave me a comment below and I will upload a tutorial specifically for uploading patterns, PDF files, patterns using an iPad. Alrighty, that is it. So again, let me know if you have any questions, and remember to create with love. Bye.